and welcome to the podcast where friends discuss environmental policies from around the planet. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Planet Policy Pals. I'm Ala, and I'm joined with my co-host, Adjoa. Girl, what's up?
Hey, I'm good. How are you? It's been a long time. Actually, no, because we're back.
It's been a week since we did the flood thing. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see you too. This is great. I mean, hear you. Anyway, welcome everybody to our new series. Is it true? We are very excited to be doing this series. Today, we're just going to kick it off real big. And the topic is fast fashion poisonous? Spoiler alert. We now hate fashion after doing this entire thing, just like clothes in general. But yeah.
We collectively took a pledge to not buy clothes. To be fair, I just steal my sister's. It's her problem, not mine, right?
Yes, girl. Reuse and recycle. That's a circular economy. Anyway. We want to ask you guys to please go ahead and donate to the foundations that we posted on social media and discussed last week for the floods in Pakistan.
Also, there's other foundations that we will post, like the Women's Democratic Front. So I'm volunteering with them, and honestly, they have locals and they're working on ground, and it's truly amazing. And they're actually they're making a real effort. They're packing really nicely. I wanted to give a special shout out to them.
Okay, so yes, go ahead and donate to them and the others referred to last week. So like I said, this week we're jumping into fashion. Since we're back, I'm going to go back to begging for rates and reviews. Guys, don't make me do this. Go ahead, rate, review us. Hit us up on social media. You know where to find us. Planet Policy Pal on Instagram, on Twitter, on everywhere. Just look up our name. If you want to know more about just how dangerous the pollution problem is from making synthetic fibers, we did a great job explaining this on episodes 13 and 14 the last time we talked about textiles and fashion and all of that. So in this series, we're trying to get as much as we can all out of like pop culture and, social media, which is where the story comes from. Y'all remember like 3 weeks ago, there was that TikTok lady who said she bought the nail flakes from Shein and she had to go to the hospital because her nails were melting, and everyone was like, oh my God, whoa. And also, like, I fucking hate Shein. So that's also where it comes from.
It's not a personal agenda, guys. We really want to save the planet.
Yeah. What I just said, it's not personal. But in 2012, Greenpeace did a study of 141 garments from 29 different countries and a mix of fashion companies all the way from Armani to like Victoria's Secret. And they found high levels of toxic phthalates in like 4 of the garments and cancer-causing amines from the use of certain like azo dyes in 2 garments.
And we're opportunists, so we decided to exploit it.
Exactly. But basically, there was that investigation, which Adjoa will talk about a little bit. And what they found was that companies like Shein and H&M have major issues of contaminants. All Shein has said regarding this issue, at least this year, we regularly test products and take action when non-compliance is found, including terminating suppliers. So they didn't actually like give us any numbers or anything, so we can't give you any numbers. Adjoa, how dire do you think this is? Like, what was your first impression learning that clothing might be poisonous before we started researching the episode?
Okay, so honestly, the first thought that came to my head was, remember when China accused H&M and Zara, Nike, etc. of selling products that were like hazardous to children? And we all were like, oh, because it happened right after all these companies had boycotted China's cotton that was coming from Xinjiang, right? And I was like, oh.
I remember we covered that.
And we're like, oh, that can't be true, or they're just doing it because, like, it's kind of like getting back at them. But, maybe it's just because they already knew and then they used this moment to expose it. Nobody believed them. So honestly, I don't know what they were trying to do there. But only if they had actually done it before, they would have, actually canceled these companies before these companies canceled them. Bruh. They played you. And
China got
they're
played.
still making money.
Xi Jinping got played. Okay, I'm going to stop because we're good, Xi. Okay, yeah. We don't hate you. I do. Anyway, The big question we have to ask, first of all, is why is all this crap in our clothes to begin with? Yoga pants, gym leggings sold by Lululemon and Old Navy contain something called PFAs. A lot of other stuff does too. PFAs are perfluoroalkoxyalkanes, and according to testing done by the consumer health activist blog Mamavasion? Okay, get a new name, blog. Outdoor apparel brands like Columbia, Ray, LL Bean, they received a D or an F grading for PFAs by Fashion FWD. And besides that, outdoor apparel brands like Columbia, Ray, LL Bean received a D or F grading for PFAs by Fashion FWD, which is a non-profit educating consumers about toxic chemicals in clothes. We'll talk a little bit more about PFAs later, but the reason you have stuff like PFAs in your clothes, it's because they make your clothes water and stain resistant. So those outfits that claim to get rid of sweat, like those sweat wicking gym outfits, they use PFAs for that sometimes. They're not supposed to because they're banned in a lot of countries, so it's a sticky one. But the main culprits in the textile growing process, and it's how they grow it, first of all, and also how they dye it. So that's how these metals and other harmful substances may be getting into your clothes and slowly through your skin. But you guys, don't freak out. The textile industry is a 1.3 trillion USD industry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's one of the largest industries in the world. If you put together textile and fashion, it's the second largest emitter after airline companies, I think we talked about before, and they employ a lot of people. So we're not telling people to lose their jobs. That's not what we're saying. We're just telling you why. You also have chemicals for things like preventing mold, stiffening, and of course all the pesticides and insecticides when they grow, even the organic materials, quote unquote. You have amines, which are basically building blocks for dyes, polymers, surfactants. They're in everything. Surfactants are just soap. You have halogenated chemicals, which are bad for the environment. Check out episode 37 on ozone. We talked about why they're bad. But they're used basically, again, to form surfactants and flame retardants. Again, surfactants are soap. I don't know why I keep saying surfactants. It sounds cooler. We also have a lot of heavy metals, which is the topic of the whole sheen thing. And those are there because they're in dyes, and they're also in catalysts that are used for resins and synthetic fibers. And resins are kind of just like the glue, kind of, is a way to think about it. We have monomers, which monomers are used to come together and form polymers. And then we have solvents, because the process uses so many solvents besides water. But like I said, these cause problems. Let's start.
So, a variety of textile dyes and solvents, as Ala said, many of them are carcinogenic, and they're being used worldwide in the textile industry. So the workers are obviously in continuous exposure to these dyes, solvents, fiber dust, and various other toxic chemicals. Job categories in textile industries are at a higher risk of developing cancer, as various chemicals used in the textile industry, they can be toxic, and they obviously act as potential health risk in inducing cancer. Studies that were done on the textile and iron industries, the authors observed that occurrence of cancer deaths among textile workers was higher. The kind of cancer that is more prevalent in this is lung cancer, and because of course of all the fumes and the dust, and bladder cancer. And if you work for Amazon, you can't even take a bathroom break, so it really sucks.
Okay, Adjoa, we'll talk about Amazon next week.
But what does it do to consumers? Well, most research about health effects of chemicals in textiles, they really just concern allergic skin reactions, right? Like there's dyes that are used for staining through food and drinking water, and of course air pollution. However, there are some chemicals that can have an effect through dermal exposure, and we shouldn't really minimize that.
No, we shouldn't.
So with dermal exposure, although most chemicals that are added during the process of these manufacturing clothes, like Ala said, there's a ton of them, they are usually rinsed out, right? But there is residual concentrations of some substances that can remain, and they can be released during the use by the consumers. And interestingly, you know how Ala was talking about yoga pants and stuff that kind of absorb your sweat?
Yeah.
Those clothes are usually exposed to perspiration. So the PFAS that Ala was talking about, there is more of a chance of metal extraction from textiles, and that can be absorbed into the skin. So, really not the best method. Really, guys, just go work out in your cotton clothes. You'll be fine.
Exactly.
Just shower.
After this, I was like, you know what? I am just gonna start wearing I'm not saying all sweat wicking stuff have PFAs because like I said, they're regulated, but I'm not even taking the fucking chance anymore. I'm gonna wear cotton, okay? I'm gonna sweat through my clothes. Everybody's gonna be grossed out around me, but I'm not wearing PFAs by accident.
Yeah, guys, like just, I know there's heat waves, but we're only gonna make them worse. Like it's a cycle, it's a loop we need to get out. Just shower 3 times a day if you must, okay?
Adjoa, I don't know if you're not on Twitter a lot, but there was this whole discourse on Twitter when Black Twitter, quote unquote, attacked a lot of people because people were coming out saying how they shower like once a week. This girl showed her shower routine and she's like, I work out every day, but I only shower once a week because my skin is sensitive.
What?
I was like, girl, get some soap. Jesus Christ. And other people being like, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis were like, I only shower and wash my kids with water and no soap. Look, I love the environment as much as the next person, but take a 10-minute shower. You know, I'm not telling you to languish in the shower, but damn.
There's like a thing, I know, because like the whole idea is that your body produces whatever secretion. It's like, people quit shampoo and they're just on conditioner.
Sebum.
And they're like, oh, because, in our primal nature, like when as primates, we would be able to clean ourselves with just water. There was no really soap and stuff. But I don't know, man. I still shampoo my hair. I
don't know,
use soap.
Yeah.
I don't know what's next. Don't use toothpaste? Yeah, no.
All I'm saying is like, and if you're worried about moisture, shower every other day. Please do it for those of us around you. And use lotion. Do you guys know that lotion exists? My skin will be dry. Use lotion. You know what? I'm done. Y'all stressing me out. Wash or use lotion.
Moving on. So in regions where there's like a lot of metals, because obviously where all these textile plants are set up, they're disposing their water, and of course, nobody's doing it nicely, guys. Let me just be honest about that. Your food. So really, we are harming ourselves in more ways than one. So these metals from the soil and aerosol pollutants, they penetrate from the atmosphere into the plant through the leaf's surface, right? And these aerosol concentrations, they change depending on the source distance, weather conditions, and obviously the size of the particles. And they stick to the plant leaves, and some of them being absorbed. Lead still remains as a surface precipitate, while zinc, copper, and cadmium can partially penetrate into the leaves. Cotton, flax, and hemp that is used in clothes actually have been shown to be great at absorbing these. So really, in those areas, we should be planting these. These plants that are releasing a lot of chemicals because of all the dyes and all the chemicals that they're using, they can raise cotton, flax, and hemp around these areas, right, which is going to absorb most of the shitty material. You still need to treat your waste, okay, before throwing it out. But whatever is left, these plants will take care of. Then you can use these plants to make fiber. And honestly, you can have a whole colony, you can have a whole city that just operates on this.
Exactly. And that's exactly what the paper that this comes from is trying to tell people. So in most of the countries where these are produced, and we'll talk about that, cognitive dissonance that society seems to have about these clothes.
Shade!
So in most of the countries in which these garments are made, these toxic wastewaters, like I just said, from factories, they run into rivers. And we have some examples coming up in a few minutes, so don't leave us alone, please. And of course, like the fertilizers that you use, the insecticides, the pesticides, that stuff is not great. It stays in your water. It precipitates into the air. It's just not great. PFAs, I have mentioned twice already. The reason PFAs are so bad is because it's associated with kidney and testicular cancers. And humans are more likely to be exposed by ingesting the food or drinking water. So even if the clothes are not as much of an issue, and they do present some issue, when it runs into water in the places where clothes are made, it becomes a problem. I know that we don't think of that as our problem because, I live in a place where they don't make them, but other people live where they make them. So I don't know. There are over 9,000 structurally diverse PFA structures, but the biggest problem is stuff like carbon fluorine. Because like I said, PFAs are basically bonded carbon to halogens. And carbon fluorine is one of the strongest. It does not degrade easily, so it sits in soil and water. In fact, The Center for Disease Control, the CDC's Prevention's National Health and Nutritional Examination Survey, they did a study just in 2015, that's just 7 years ago, and they found PFAs in the blood of 97% of Americans. I'm telling you, wear cotton to the gym. Yes. And I think PFAs have been banned since like the 60s or the 50s, something like that. They've been banned in America for a long time, but they take so long to degrade that they're still in our water and they're still in our food now. So imagine how a country like Bangladesh, where they still are using PFAs for certain things, what are those people dealing with? When is it going to get out of their society? You know what? I'm going to stop myself before I go off on a rant. I'm pulling an Adwa today, guys. I'm really angry about the situation.
Yeah, finally.
In 2012, like I said, the Greenpeace did that study that we mentioned earlier, and they found that the chemicals were linked to like ADHD, asthma, diabetes, breast cancer, and reproductive issues. We are going to talk about reproduction in this series, and everybody keeps saying, like, are people's reproduction getting messed up by the environment? They are. They are, you guys. And the reason, what they found that was so dangerous were phthalates. Phthalates are not great, especially for children. Children shouldn't be near phthalates. But guess what? Your kids are near phthalates because of your clothes, guys. Because of your clothes. Because you want to look good. Damn it. Mm-hmm. Every time we wash a synthetic garment like polyester, nylon, rayon, and the rest, 700,000 individual microfibers are at least released into water, and they end up in the ocean. Guys, you know how I feel about the ocean, glaciers, any body of water. These things are making our fish sick. And not just that, they end up in the food chain, because guess who eats fish? Us. We eat fish. It's a problem. Yeah. It really is. But let's talk about sometimes when these people have gotten caught and sometimes where they've lied out of it. I'm just going to start by saying, like, H&M is just very fucked up. I don't know what they're doing over there.
Guys, Ala hates H&M now. You have no idea.
I do.
I said capitalism less times than Ala said, I hate H&M.
Yeah. I do also want to preface all this by saying allegedly, and anything else that anybody could sue us for, allegedly. Although, do y'all even have money to sue us? Don't you have all these people suing you? Like, Shein has over a dozen lawsuits from this year alone. Take care of your business.
Wow. Guys, she woke up and chose violence today.
I'm so mad. In 2017, hundreds of people protested against pollution they believed to be caused by the global textile producer Pacific Textile Holdings. You may not have heard of Pacific Textiles, but they supply some of your favorite brands with textiles. There was a horrible smell from the water discharge of the company's factory, and the residents were rightfully concerned. Their concern led to a 672 million dong, which is only $30,000 fine, in December of 2016.
Their currency is called dong. Okay, moving on.
It is called dong. You don't know, I try to be so adult about that just now, Adwa, please. But basically, the water had passed the limits for acidity and alkalinity balance, also for color, also for total suspended solids, also for chemical oxygen demand and biological oxygen demand. Like, that's a lot. And you can't tell me these people did not know. The villagers, they did not see any improvement. And of course, they were concerned. They're like, they just fined you for this water. Why does it still smell the same? And so they protested, only for them to be attacked with water cannons by the local government.
The irony. They're like, our water is not clean. They're like, oh, bet? Tell us now, and shoot them with water cannons.
How clean is that water in your face? That's basically what they said. They said, y'all gonna taste some of this water. Tell us how dirty it is. That's horrible.
You want to sue us again? Oh, God, that's hilarious to me.
It really, we shouldn't laugh so much. I don't know what to tell you. Is this a comedy environmental podcast now? I don't know. Maybe.
It's the opposite of a rom-com. It's a hate-com.
It's a hate com. That's what we do. We do hate com. But anyway, you know what Pacific Textiles said? They were like, there's been only one discharge of water, and it just so happens to be the only one we were fined for. which makes no sense, you guys. It still smelled, which means they either kept discharging or they didn't clean it. And then they were like, the villagers are wrong to say pollution had continued. And why would you say that about us? So mean. Well, they didn't say it like that, but that's basically what they said. And they gave no proof of water quality, and everybody just moved on. And now I don't even know. I'm thinking about this village in Vietnam. Like, are they okay? I don't know. The investigators for the Changing Markets Foundation visited 10 manufacturing sites in China, India, and Indonesia, where textiles are manufactured a lot, by the way, and found severe environmental damage, including water pollution from untreated contamination sites and air pollution, also in 2017. What a year. Brands alleged by the report to source from these factories include H&M, Inditex owns Zara, they supply them with textiles, and Marks and Spencer, as well as Tesco. It's just global bullshit, guys. It was as a result of the production of the synthetic fiber viscose, which is why we told you that viscose is a plant material, but the way it's made can be very bad. It uses a lot of heavy chemicals, including carbon disulfide, which has been linked to birth defects, mental health issues, and cancer. A report from the investigation alleged that residential areas nearby the factory are being polluted with carbon disulfide that was at least 3 times higher than the permitted limit. You guys, okay. I'm so upset.
We have a podcast and we don't know what to say. Can you imagine?
It's just, and we both talk a lot.
Needlessly.
So just imagine. I'm dumbfounded. Earlier this year, the Federal Trade Commission here in the U.S., the FTC, fined Fashion Nova $4.2 million to settle allegations that the company blocked negative reviews of its products from being posted on its website. Basically, the complaint said that they only chose reviews that made them look favorable in numerous instances. And they suspended product reviews with ratings lower than 4 out of 5 stars. And I'm only adding this part, even though it's not about the environment, to show you how dishonest these people are. Like, they can't stop lying, okay? Adwoa, just say it. Say capitalism. I know you want to.
Well, capitalism, but also nobody thought Fashion Nova was not sketchy. Can we be real?
You make several points. That is very true. But one of them that made me the happiest, because wait for it, guys, you already know what's coming. The baddest of bad bitches to ever bad bitch, marketing student Chelsea Commodore, sued H&M in federal court this July over their greenwashing practices. I did hear about this when this came out. It made the news. I don't know if y'all did, but I do want to apologize because when we did episodes 13 and 14, we mentioned their conscious choices line, and we were like, you know what? H&M is not great overall, but it's kind of cool that they're having this line, and we said all the claims they said. They lied. These people are liars, okay? It was all a lie.
How?
So what they did was they took the Higg Index, which is used to award sustainability points for textiles, and they twisted it. And they put it in all their campaigns. So what they did to manipulate it is they ignored the minus sign in the rankings when they published the scores.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
You can just do that?
They can do it. They can just fucking lie. If a dress has a water rating consumption of negative 20%, it means that, this is consuming 20 times more water than average. But what H&M did was they would put the negative 20% there and they'd be like, look, we are using 20% less consumption. And how many people do you think read and know about the Higgs Index?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's like Volkswagen kind of level of lying. You know how Volkswagen did the whole thing?
Yeah, it's just horrible.
Yeah, greenwashing has been around for a while, guys. Nothing new. Neither are their tricks.
Yep. If you listen to episode 30, I think it was 36, you would know that one of my greatest environmental pet peeves is greenwashing. I'm looking at you, Clean Coal. Anyway, the one that really pissed me off is how their clothing take-back program, because we're always saying reduce, reuse, recycle. It's just a front to get you to buy more shit. Every time you go back into the store with your old shit, they just try to convince you to buy more shit, and they found that people going back to return clothes only end up buying more. So it's not even real reuse. And like Adwoa said, most polyester recycling is from water bottles. But when they market you recycled clothes, companies like H&M convince you that they're doing it from other clothes. They don't. They recycle like less than, I think, about 1% of actual garments. You know how fucked up that is? Like,
No.
like 1%. I swear
So
to
you
God.
mean that my cute dress that was just a little bit, and I thought, oh, if I buy a new article, but I'm giving this in for recycling, I'm canceling it out. I wasn't canceling it out.
Companies in general in the fashion industry are estimated to recycle about 14% total. H&M is at 1% reportedly. Look, I cannot.
Oh my
It's a marketing
God.
ploy.
I wanna sue them too now. Emotional damage.
It is emotional damage. I love that guy. But no, like this lady, she like got mad and she did something about it. And it looks like they're going to get punished for it, you guys. It's looking kind of serious now for them. Not as serious as it could be.
I'm happy.
I know. How is this sustainable? How is this sustainable? They're just lying. So speaking about punishments, have there been any regulation attempts where people actually where governments are actually doing something to crack down?
Well, like you said, all these companies, ASOS, Zara, and of course H&M, that you love so much, they have been caught lying. But why are they lying, right? Like there must be regulations, right? There are many control measures.
They love to lie. That's why they're lying.
Okay, well, that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is, what is it? What is it? Starts with a C. Capitalism. Thank you very much. Okay. So they do have like these control measures that are employed in the EU and like US, like you said, PFAs are banned. But then there's this continued relocation of textile production, right? Like it moves to countries that have fewer environmental restrictions and, not the best work standard.
But of course, they always want to send it to third world countries and, I hate that word, third world, sorry. They always want to send it to developing nations and just leave us with their shit. Yeah.
They're like, here, develop our trash and everything else. So this complex raw material supply chains, and also the large number of operators that are obviously involved in this whole cycle and these different production steps, that makes the very strict control, right, of the presence of these toxic chemicals in textiles and general just in clothes. It's very difficult to regulate it. But on the other hand, the rapid changes in fashion trends, obviously, they also lead to fluctuations in the types of prints and dyes and other kind of chemicals. And this fast fashion thing that every year there's a new trend that's happening and now everybody's going to jump on that bandwagon. So, demand is going up.
Yeah, just pick a style and wear it forever. I'm so tired of this. I was trying to tell, I think I was talking to my sister and she's like, but Shein is so cheap. And I get it, guys. I also buy cheap clothes. But what you can do if you can't afford the more maybe expensive sustainable brands is
thrift shop.
Yeah, and keep your clothes. You don't need so many garments. You don't need a new outfit every function. You're not fucking Kim Kardashian. Even she needs to keep her fucking clothes.
If you're so rich, do one of those rent the runway things where you just rent clothes. If you want to wear a new outfit to every new event, rent clothes, Also a very sustainable option.
That's a great idea. If you're an influencer, rent clothes. You know what I mean? Rent them. Or buy from sustainable. If you can afford it, if you can afford to wear different clothes every function like that, buy from different brands. Or keep your clothes. Or give it to your youngest sister. Give it to your cousins. Give it to strangers. I don't know. Give it to somebody.
Even then, just buy less. The whole idea is buy less. I understand the first of the 3 R's is reduce. The last is recycle. And just if you really want to use something, rent it, borrow it from people. You have a wedding coming up, borrow an outfit from a friend. That used to be such a thing. We don't borrow clothes anymore like we used to, man.
Yeah, and speaking of weddings, stop making your bridesmaid buy horrible dresses that they won't wear more than once. What is the point of that? Who is this serving? Let them pick whatever they want in whatever color you want so that they can wear it again. Okay,
or
end of tirade.
Clothes out.
I have a serious problem with the wedding industry.
Oh yeah,
rent
me
them.
too. Don't get me wrong. But what are the governments doing? Well, in the UK, there's a new framework that will see the UK government and a new framework, which is the devolved administration of the Scottish government, Welsh government, and DARA, which is working with industry and local councils to identify these methods that are known as best available techniques and they are from across the UK's largest industries, right? So the whole process, it includes agreeing and setting emission limits so that they are within environmental permits and determine the types of technologies and methods that operators should use, to reduce their environmental impact. There are new bodies that are being set up, and one of the targets is, of course, textiles and fashion industries and fashion brands, because like Ala said, this is a really big industry and this really needs to be regulated at this point.
100%.
In the US, the EPA issued a final rule in July to update the toxic release inventory chemical list, which is to identify 5 additional PFAs that are subject to reporting requirements. But, it has its process.
It does. They did add 4 this year, which is nice.
So, like I said, these companies that work in Asian countries with lax regulations, they mainly then ship them to other countries. And while they may reduce amounts in fashion products or lie, the manufacturing and production processes could still use solvents and other chemicals that are harmful to communities there. And this is why the EU is tightening regulations to limit what can be used in the process of any garment creation, right? Even outside the country. Now, it would make it harder to sell clothes that are made unsustainably, right? Like in 2021, Biden made it illegal to sell clothes that are made in Xinjiang, China, and in the US as a means of punishment of the Uyghur genocide that's happening there that nobody can talk about, or clothes that are made in the province that have also been linked to bad sustainability practices and high levels of hazardous material by the Chinese government themselves, right? So it could be a step in the right direction, really.
Fingers crossed.
Vietnam is leaving the burden up to the brands, saying that most of them are actually working to meet the green standards in production. Of course, that's not true. They just want the money, guys.
I just want to roll my eyes to the back of my head.
China continues to use its infamous regulation method, right, which is strict and swift bans and fines in this regard. So if anything new pops up, we'll let you know. But, they're like cease and desist.
China is just its own thing. Yeah.
Bangladesh, they have a new guideline that is aimed at stemming unauthorized subcontracting in the industry, because that happens a lot, and that's why there's so much child labor.
It's horrible.
It is also making them join the Bangladesh Garment Manufacturers and Exporters Association, which is to ensure that they meet the standards for working conditions. However, nothing very strict on chemicals or other additives, but at least they're working on the human rights aspect. So, we'll give them some props.
Yeah. We'll see if it trickles into like the chemicals and stuff, because human rights still include those.
An expert solution that we can move towards, which is beyond regulation, is that we just makes us shift from this half-baked recycling toward reuse, right? Like we said earlier, a lot of clothes are made from synthetic materials and hence they use fossil fuels. There are existing technologies to break down and rebuild specific polymers, chemically speaking, but the issue is that we wear a lot of different materials and most of our clothes are blends. So beyond even the synthetic polymers that are a challenge, cotton and denim make up 27% of all textiles and consist of biological polymers, which are called cellulose. That's when enter solvent-based recycling. So all the polymer fibers from old clothes are too short and weak from use to spin into any new yarn through a mechanical process. There is a way to reclaim the fibers for reuse, right? The underlying idea is simple.
I'm so excited to hear about this, you guys. Like, this is like peak chemical happiness for me in this episode. Finally, something that brings me joy.
Yeah. So what they do is they collect used textiles, they dissolve the polymers using solvents, and then spin the fibers into yarn. And you can't fully dissolve garments in simple water, even if you shred them. The goal is to use the right solvent, where the polymer-solvent intermolecular attraction outweighs the polymer-polymer forces, to then dissolve the fibers for recovery, and this process is known as Lonsell.
Lonsell is very cool.
And of course, a chemical engineer came up with that. He was a Finnish chemical engineer.
Hey, look at us. Look at us.
So it's a Finnish chemical engineer and a PhD student, Simone Haslinger, who is working on Lonsell technology using the ionic liquid to dissolve wood, paper, cotton clothes, and cardboard, all things with cellulose. The cations and anions in ionic liquids, they readily engage in hydrogen bond interactions with cellulose, and these attractive forces, they dissolve the cellulose, converting it into liquid form that's easier to purify. And then this liquid, it gets pushed through small filters into water, and since the ionic liquid that is being used is soluble in water, it washes away. The challenge now is finding other solvents for different materials that are environmentally and human friendly. But the method for cotton is definitely a step in the right direction.
It certainly is. It really is. It's really cool technique. I mean, lawn cell technology has existed, but the research that this chemical engineer is doing is cool because now it's addressing cellulose even better. And previously we used some harmful solvents for cellulose. So hopefully we'll see more for other things. Adjoa, after this long discussion and all my rants, what is your biggest takeaway about this entire thing?
So, like we said, focus on the 3 R's and remember they are in order of importance. Reduce. First, our demand should go down, right? Like, we really need to stop buying so much stuff because we are not breaking it down in the manner, like, it's not going away at the same speed that it is being made. And that is always a problem, right? It's like the earth is constipated with all this trash. So, like, we really need to stop that. If you are somebody who can reuse the stuff that you have bought, please reuse stuff. And if you can't, at least make sure that you are buying stuff that is able to be recycled. Consumerism has really taken a toll on the environment.
Look, we usually don't blame people, like the general public, a lot. We try to put the blame where it is. In this case, true, it's the companies, they market this stuff, and the whole fashion industry with seasons and trends is part of the problem. All we're saying is just try to find smarter ways to do it. And if you have money, buy from sustainable brands. This whole industry is super fucked up. I know I've said, like, I've used the F-bomb like 4 times or 5 times this episode. Maybe Adjoa cleaning up, I don't know. We didn't even discuss like all the waste we have previously, but not now. Design theft, biodiversity loss, it's a big problem. In my opinion, to answer the question, is fast fashion poisonous? I'm going to say yes. And on a scale of 1 to 10, big facts, I'm going to give it an 8.5. You know what? It might actually be pushing a 9 because H&M added a whole half point with their villainous lies. But yes, and as for Shein, yes, y'all. Like, look, if it was not true, Shein would give us facts. Allegedly. Shein should give us their quality. Just tell us, like, give us some numbers, bro. Like, they never answer directly. So how do I believe them? I do want to also recommend a book. It's called Fashionopolis, and it talks about that fashion bulimic culture that Adjoa was talking about. We keep consuming and then just throwing away more and more fashion. It is not healthy. Fashionopolis is a great book. It tells you so much about the fashion industry. It's fantastic. Check it out. That's my takeaway. And I don't buy fancy clothes either. You can ask Adjoa, but, you know, I'm very big on reduce. That's my big thing. I really do try to reduce how many clothes I consume. So you guys join me. Question for you guys. Like I said, I know how popular Shein is and Fashion Nova less popular, but still. What do you guys think you're going to do in terms of that? Are you going to just keep buying some things from Shein and then from other places? Are you like, you know what? I'm sorry, somebody has to die. I mean, I know that's how you feel, but are you just like, nah, there's not enough facts in this episode? What are you guys going to do to help curb this problem? And also keep yourself safe, because as we've explained, you could be hurting yourself. Tell us. We want to know.
We do. An organization that we want to highlight is Sustain Your Style. It is an independent platform that is made up by people who love fashion and style but are concerned about the current practices of the fashion industry. So please definitely do check them out. They will probably tell you more ways of how to live your life sustainably and still be fashionable. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And we really hope that you would have taken a few lessons from us and, like, you know, kind of added to the stuff that you can do to make this world a better place and be more sustainable in your lives. We are very excited to be back doing this show. Especially excited about this series because, like, right now we shared a ton of fast fashion, all your favorite brands. Next week, we are going to be shitting on all your favorite celebrities and private jets. You know, we have a few in mind. You know it. I know it. So, yeah, we will get into that. So, please do check us out next week. Follow us on Twitter at Planet Policy Pal, Instagram at Planet Policy Pals, or find us on Facebook. Please don't forget to rate us and review us, and email questions and comments to planetpolicypals@gmail.com, or hit us up in our DMs. We love you all, and until next time, keep learning, pals.